Brembo presents
Formula One has now channeled itself into a technical alignment as far as aerodynamic, chassis and engine development is concerned, precisely because of increasingly strict regulations that constrain or otherwise take away the opportunity for designers to bring in new ideas. So the winning idea in this case is followed of the Red Bull RB19, copied by the pursuers. Then the RB20 made the leap and then created the real break. However, we at ChronoGP wanted to do a technical report on what is not aligned, what is not unified, and that is precisely the weight distribution on the car axle. Curiously, Red Bull, Mercedes and Ferrari have worked on the weight setback with three radically different, and we can see this on Ferrari with a gearbox that is 5 inches shorter and has shifted the tank, power unit and transmission weights to the rear. On the Mercedes, they operated the exact same solution of shifting the center of gravity by moving the driver and the cockpit 7-10 centimeters from the front to the center of the car, and especially the Red Bull. It has always worked in this direction: weight setback, moving the front suspension with arms stretched forward that lengthen the wheelbase and automatically shift the center of gravity toward the rear axle. Well, all this is extremely curious because it runs after a common problem for single-seaters, but which has in fact been operated with three radically different solutions. This is the beautiful Formula One we want to see. This is the Formula One of creativity chased by top engineers trying to correct setup problems by working on the most diverse solutions. Driving this de facto problem are the tires that have been changed over the past 2 seasons. The 18-inch tires have new stiffer carcass structures that reduce the drift angle, the slip angle in cornering. Because it was necessary to adjust the increase in downforce to the covers, this is precisely for safety reasons. And in this case, the retreat of the loads is precisely induced by the new standard imposed by the covers. And so our technical report that wants to see Ferrari, Mercedes and Red Bull, how they worked on this is very detailed. And with the use of 3D, we really do a very important in-depth step on the 3 top teams that have chased the weight setback.
This year, the technical trend of the top teams is to shift weights toward the rear to balance tire temperatures and improve traction. Curiously, Red Bull, Ferrari and Mercedes have shifted the load back following 3 completely different paths, but ultimately leading to the same result. This is an indicator that already at the design stage, these 3 teams understood that there would be room for improvement in better weight distribution. Red Bull decided on weight removal toward the rear to improve an extreme setup wanted by Verstappen that was too forward-leaning. The RB20 abandons the suspension with straight triangles and adopts forward-sloping tie rods, lengthening the wheelbase and changing the weight distribution. By increasing the front overhang, the center of gravity is closer to the rear, increasing the load percentage at the rear. In parallel, by moving the wheels away from bellies and intake boxes, turbulence is reduced, flow cleanliness improves, and ground effect increases. By treating this highly sensitive area with stable dynamic fluid, the undercar generates more effective synergies between the side vortices and the channelized flows on the venturi channels, increasing overall downforce. With increased load comes increased vertical thrust on the tires, a crucial factor in bringing the compounds up to temperature and extracting a greater and better distributed amount of grip on the 4 tires. If Red Bull worked on the front end to retract the car's center of gravity, Ferrari achieved the same goal by redesigning the rear end, changing dimensions, housing of the mechanicals, radiators, and suspension. The substantial difference lies precisely in the positioning of the gearbox, which has a more compact box that is 5 centimeters shorter. A solution that displaced the entire powertrain toward the rear with the aim of shifting the load to the rear axle, rebalancing the weights. Another important change comes from the radiator housing. The external dimensions remain the same, but the coolers have been raised above the bottom and, more importantly, angled forward. This configuration allows space to be gained at the bottom by carving out a large channel for more air to flow under the bellies. Peripheral flows, thanks to a wider seat, are accelerated by activating a greater depression. Vortexes defending the bottom are more powerful, improving the interactions between the upper aerodynamics and the undercar for the benefit of ground effect, center corner stability, and more predictable and sincere chassis behavior. Advantages that Mercedes has not found while working in the same chassis direction. In fact, the W15 was born as a breakaway single-seater designed around the rear cockpit to move the driver to the center of the car with the goal of balancing the weights on the two. The redesign of the monocoque led to revisions in the positioning of the pedals, suspension, and steering box, which developed toward the center of the car. The new suspension housing changes the working angle of the reaction struts relative to the rocker arms and, most importantly, provides for upper triangles that can be modified in their anchorage to the body to control anti-dive on braking. In addition to the front end, the rider and tank are also set back. Considering the full load of 110 kilograms, the weight shift was indeed important, but not enough to correct the problems of the W15 that, while following the line common to Red Bull and Ferrari of the rearward center of gravity, was unable to extract the same benefits and improvements in tire use and drivability.